Hello Junior 4, how are you? Hope you all are fine. In this video, we are in concept 3. In this concept, we will talk about light. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to never miss an update. First, let's define the word light. What the meaning of light? Light is the visible form of energy. What's the meaning of visible? Visible means I can see it. So visible means I can see it. So light, it's a visible form of energy. It's a type of energy that I can see it. Light, visible form of energy that travels in the form of waves. So one more time, what the meaning of light? It's a visible form of energy that travels in the form of waves. Let's see sources of light. What the meaning of source of light? Source of light, it's something that emits. What the meaning of emits? Produce, or we can say gives off. So emits means produce or gives off. So a source of light means it's something that emits its own light, produce its own light. Like what? Like sun, candles, fire, electric lamps, and flashlight. So all of these are sources of light. There are other objects that don't emit light, don't produce light, but they seem glowy. How can these objects seem glowy? They reflect the light falling on them. Like what? Like mirror and moon. So mirror and moon don't emit their own light, but they just reflect the light that falling on them. Like a mirror reflects the light from flashlight, or the moon reflects the sunlight. Let's see how can we see. First, the light rays fall on an object, and then they will bounce off. What the meaning of bounce off? Return back or reflect. So the light rays fall on objects, and then they will bounce off these objects and reach our eyes. So the light fall on the object and it reflects into our eyes. That's the way how we see. So one more time, how we see. The light rays fall on an object and then rays reflect to our eyes. So we can see these objects, but can we see in the dark? Humans can't see in the dark. In the dark, everything looks black. But there are some animals can see in the dark. Like what? Like fishing cat. It's wild cat and considered as one of nocturnal animals that hunts for food at night. Fishing cat eyes seem to glow in the dark. Give reason for fishing cat eyes seems to glow. Because it has mirror-like membrane At the back of its eyes, there is a membrane in its eyes. It's look like mirror. It reflects the light fall on it. So when the light enters the fishing cat eyes, this light reflects through this membrane, allow its eyes to collect more light, so it can see in dark, or it can see in little amount of light, or in dim light. What about its adaptation? This is behavioral adaptation or structural adaptation. Mirror-like membrane, it's a part in its body, so it's a structural adaptation. And the human create a tool help us to see in dark. Like what? Like fishing cat. Humans create night vision goggles. Night vision goggles. By using these goggles, we can see in low light places. So, humans can use night vision goggles to see in the dark. We can classify materials into two groups: shiny and smooth materials, and the other group is rough materials. Let's see how can these materials reflect the light. Shiny and smooth materials reflect large amount of the light. Like what? Like mirror or piece of metal like aluminum foil. But rough materials reflect a small amount of light, like piece of wood or piece of plastic or piece of cloth and paper. And you must know that light travels in straight line. Light travels in straight line in the form of light waves. So the light travels or moves in straight line. We can classify objects into two groups: opaque objects and transparent objects. Let's see what the meaning of opaque objects. They are objects that don't allow light to pass through. Don't allow light to pass through. Like what? Like rock, like wood, like metals, and also the human body. So opaque objects don't allow light to pass through, and we can't see what behind them. We can't see through them. But what about the transparent objects? They are objects that allow light to pass through, and we can see things through them. We can see what behind them. Like what? Like air, water, and glass, and also lenses. Now let's talk about the shadow. Why do you see your body shadow? Your body is an opaque object, so it can't or it don't allow light to pass through. So our bodies form shadow because the light that hits your body bounce off or absorbed, but no light passes through your body. So give reason for forming of shadow. Because opaque objects don't allow light to pass through. One more time, give reason for forming of shadow. Because opaque objects don't allow light to pass through. Now let's classify the surfaces. We can classify the surfaces into two groups: smooth surface and rough surface. Let's talk about smooth surface. In a smooth surface like mirror, the light rays will reflect in one direction with the same angle. So one more time. In a smooth surface like mirror, the light will reflect in one direction and in the same angle. But in rough surface like painted surface like wood or wool, it's scatter. What the meaning of scatter? Diffuse. What the meaning of diffuse? Reflect light but in different directions. Reflect light but in different directions. Now let's study a new part. It's about fireflies. Now let's study a new part. It's about firefly. How do fireflies' petals produce the light? Firefly petals, they are insects that produce light. How come they produce light? They produce chemical reaction in their bodies. They produce a chemical reaction inside their bodies that allow them to light up or to emit light. Why do they produce light? Give reason for firefly petals produce light. To communicate with each other. To communicate with other fireflies. Warn of other fireflies' petals from predator. To warn the others from predators. Or to attract a mate to reproduce. So, give reason for firefly petals produce light. To communicate with others, to warn the others from predators, or to attract a mate to reproduce. If the firefly beetles meet another group of fireflies, they will change their own flash pattern to match the flash pattern to other group to communicate. So, if two groups meet each other, one group of them will change its flash pattern, match the flash pattern of the other group. To what? To communicate. How can they make a flash pattern? They use wings to make flash pattern. They use their wings to make flash pattern. Now let's see some different types of communication in humans and animals and both of them. Humans can communicate by reading, writing, watching TV, cell phone, or an electronic reader device, which is e-reader. And animals only can communicate with echolocation. But both of humans and animals can communicate by producing sounds, which is high-pitched sound or low-pitched sound, or by using light. So both of humans and animals can communicate by sounds and light. Now let's study a new part, which is transferring information. Human senses are used to gather. What the meaning of gather? Collect information from the environment by using what? Eyes or ears. eyes to detect light energy, and ears to detect sound energy. Let's see some examples of information that the eyes receive. Number 1, traffic light. We can see the traffic light. So we can use light to communicate with each other. Number 2, people use flare to get help. Flare to get help. So we use the light to communicate. Number 3, we can use fires to communicate. Number 4, many travelers use mirrors to attract the attention of rescue helicopters. So we can use the reflection of light by mirrors to attract the attention of helicopters. So the 4 examples are examples for the communication by light. Now let's study another title, which is code. What the meaning of code? It's a pattern that has meaning. It's a pattern that has meaning. It's shapes or samples or words that has meaning. Let's see some examples about code. Thumb up and thumb down, traffic lights, expressions on faces, language, writing, music or sounds, and lighthouse. Lighthouse produce the flashes or light to tell sailors where they are. So the lighthouse uses the light to communicate. So all of these are examples of code. One more time, code like thumb up, thumb down, traffic lights, expressions on faces, language, writing, music or sounds, and finally, lighthouse. That's all about our lesson today. Thank you and see you soon in another video. Let me know if you have any questions.